ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 2, Verse number 8. Etenaiva hi aghonosya Etenaiva hi aghonosya Kritam syadaganishkritam Kritam syadaganishkritam Yada narayanayeti Yada narayanayeti Jagada chaturaksharam Jagada chaturaksharam Etenaiva hi aghonosya Kritam syadaganishkritam Yada narayanayeti Jagada chaturaksharam Etenaiva hi aghonosya Kritam syadaganishkritam Yada narayanayeti Jagada chaturaksharam Word to word meaning. Etena, by this chanting. Eva, indeed. He, certainly. Aghonaha, who possesses sinful reactions. Asya, of the Sajamila. Kritam, performed. Syat, is. Agha, of sins. Nishkritam, complete atonement. Yada, when. Narayana, O Narayana, the name of his son. Aya, please come. Iti, thus. Jagada, he chanted. Chatuaksharam, the 4 syllables. Narayana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Vishnu Dutas continued. Even previously while eating, and at other times this Ajamila would call his son, saying, "My dear Narayana, please come here." Although calling the name of his son, he nevertheless uttered the 4 syllables Narayana. Simply by chanting the name of Narayana in this way, he sufficiently atoned for the sinful reactions of millions of lives. Purport. Previously, when engaged in sinful activities to maintain his family, Ajamila chanted the name of Narayana without offenses. To chant the holy name of the Lord just to counteract one's sinful activities or to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name is offensive. Namno baladyasya hi papa buddhihi. But although Ajamila engaged in sinful activities, he never chanted the holy name of Narayana to counteract them. He simply chanted the name Narayana to call his son. Therefore, his chanting was effective. Because of chanting the holy name of Narayana in this way, he had already vanquished the accumulated sinful reactions of many lives. In the beginning, he was pure, but although he later committed many sinful acts, he was offenseless because he did not chant the holy name of Narayana to counteract them. One who always chants the holy name of the Lord without offenses is always pure. As confirmed in the verse, Ajamila was already sinless, and because he chanted the name of Narayana, he remained sinless. It did not matter that he was calling his son. The name itself was effective. Translation with repetition. The Vishnudutas continued. Even previously, while eating and at other times, this Ajamila would call out his son, saying, "My dear Narayana, please come here." Although calling the name of his son, he nevertheless uttered the 4 syllables Narayana. Simply by chanting the name of Narayana in this way, he sufficiently atoned for the sinful reactions of millions of lives. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Sar Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshitarini Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, in this chapter, Ajamila delivered by the Vishnudutas. This is the 8th verse, and the conversation between Vishnudutas and Yamadutas is continuing. In the previous chapter, Yamadutas had given their reasoning why Ajamila is sinful. He has not followed dharma and therefore he is liable for punishment. And so we have come here to claim his soul, to take his soul to our king Yamaraj. And then we saw this chapter began by Vishnudutas asking Yamadutas, because Yamadutas are the servants of Yamaraj, who is known as Dharmaraj, who dispenses justice to everyone equally without any partiality. So Vishnudutas asked Yamadutas, what is your understanding of dharma? Please explain. Because what you are doing, that is taking away the soul of Ajamila, is not as per dharma. So Yamadutas became confused. How can you say this is not dharma? Because we have been doing this every time and he was such a sinful man. And so he must go with us. But they did not know that he had chanted the name of Narayana, and that one thing that Ajamila did, apart from all the sinful acts that he had done, had actually vanquished all his sinful actions. And this is what Vishnudutas are explaining to them. That because he has chanted the name of Lord Narayana, he is now free from all the sins. So this verse says, Etena eva hi. Etena means this holy name that he has chanted. What has happened? Something has certainly happened. Eva hi. What has happened? Aghonaha. Aghonaha means this Ajamila. Aghona means one who possessed sinful reactions of large volumes. Asya, this Ajamila. Kritam syat aghanishkritam. Kritam syat. He has performed what? For all the agha, all the sins. What has he done? Nishkritam. He has performed. Nishkritam means he has performed not just atonement, he has performed complete atonement. If we perform any sin or sinful deed, we can counteract it by atoning for it. So he has performed complete atonement. And how did he do this? By Yada Narayana Aya, Ao Narayana, Aya Narayana, please come here. Just by chanting the name of Narayana, his son, and by calling him Narayana Aya, please come here. Jagada, he chanted. So he has become freed from all the sinful reactions. This is the wonderful effect of chanting the simple name Narayana. It is mentioned here, Chatu Aksharam. Chatu Aksharam means these 4 syllables. Narayana. He has completely atoned. So we see here an example of what kind of benefits a person can get simply by chanting the name of Narayana. And this medicine, the name of Narayana, because Ajamila was so sinful, he was so fortunate that this chanting was given to him by the way of naming his son Narayana. You see how the medicine was inserted or given to him in a way that he himself did not realize. That is a wonderful benefit of children being named after the Lord's name. Actually, in the past, you all must be knowing, recently I got an opportunity where I had to chant the name of my grandfather, the great-grandfather, and the great-great-grandfather. And I was not knowing that they had such wonderful Krishna conscious names. I myself was, it was like a big revelation for me and a consciousness that prevailed in me. Oh my God, it's such a wonderful name. Krishna Prasad and Madhusudan Prasad and so in the past, not just our family, everyone's family had their parents, their children being named after Krishna. Because this is in the recent past. Grandfather means about 50 years ago or 40 years ago. That's all. So imagine the culture and the knowledge that was existing in our society even just half a century back, 50 years ago. Everybody, most of them, because they knew that this is the benefit. It doesn't cost anything, doesn't you don't have to do anything, and you have to anyway, doesn't take up time, doesn't cost anything. Imagine such a wonderful benefit. If you have to receive some benefit from somebody, I have to spend my time, I have to spend my energy, I have to spend money. Here nothing. So such an easy thing, but unfortunately this is the Kali Yuga that we are living today in. People have lost this knowledge. Earlier we had these names of children: Madhusudana, Krishna, Gopala, Keshava, Madhava. And now as Kali Yuga is progressing, the names have diluted to just maybe some values or some objects like Satya, truthful, good, Veera, brave. But we would give name Veera Krishna. Krishna, the most brave and the most powerful and the most valiant. Satya, Satya Gopal, it becomes a Krishna's name. That's how we would give name. But these days that Krishna is out, but the values are remaining only. So many: Deepak, Akash, Namra. And now in today's age it has got further diluted. Even these values are not there. We give sometimes some nicknames. Even nickname. This Narayana was his name that he was calling every day. We give nickname: Pinky, Chotu, Bolu, all these different names we are giving. What is the value of these names? Instead of using these names, if we call him Gopal, such a nice beautiful name, Keshav, Madhav, the child is getting benefited. Everybody in the family is also getting benefited. Just see how simple. That's why it is said in the Shastras, it is said, Yena tena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayet. Somehow or other chant the name of Lord. So can there be a simpler process than this, that you just chant? You anyway have to call out the names of our children, and they have Krishna conscious names, and we benefit so much enormously by this method. So this is how Ajamila was really blessed. And here in this verse it is mentioned Chaturaksharam, 4 akshara, na, ra, ya, na. So these aksharas, imagine, they are not ordinary aksharas. They are aksharas with transcendental potency, invested with transcendental potency and power. Narayana. We know that story of how Valmiki became the celebrated sage who authored the Ramayana. Valmiki was actually a dacoit, a murderer, a thief, a plunderer. And Narad Muni came and he saw his pitiable condition, the fallen condition. So Narad Muni told him, why don't you chant the name of Rama? If you chant the name of Rama, you will be freed from all the sins that you have performed. And Valmiki say he tried to chant the name of Rama, but he couldn't because he was so sinful. He said, I cannot chant the name Rama, it doesn't come to my mind. All along my life, I have meditated, I have killed, murdered, and meditated on my murder. This is all that I have done all throughout my life. So Narad Muni said, okay, you do like this, you meditate on your murderer and meditate on what you have done. You chant Mara. So he said, yes, Mara, can you chant? He said, yes, I can chant the name Mara because this is what I have done all my life. Same, Ajamila, all his life he chanted Narayana. So he chanted Narayana. So Valmiki, he chanted Maram, 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 and it came out Rama. And he became liberated. So this shows that this was Chaturaksharam. Maram is Dvi-aksharam. Just 2 akshara. Hari. Hari, in the previous verse, I think in the previous verse, verse number 7, it was there. Harir iti aksharam dvayam. Prabhupada writes in the purport. Just look at the potency of just 2 small syllables, Hari. In one of the purports, Prabhupada is writing that these syllables are so surcharged with the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, His Shakti, His power, that Even if these two syllables, Hari, doesn't come together, Hari, if it is if it is coming into different places, it still has its potency. These are all examples that tell us how important it is to chant the holy name of the Lord. It is mentioned Halam Riktim. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita purport, this word is mentioned. Halam Riktim, some word, Halam Riktim. You chant Halam Riktim makes no sense, it appears. But Halam, Ha of Halam, and Riktim, Ri of Riktim. Because Ha and Ri are there in this word Halam Riktim, he is actually getting the benefit of chanting the holy name Hari. Just see the benefit of chanting of the syllables, not just the whole word, even the syllable, the smallest particle. Ha is just like one syllable. Just like it is said, the atom is the smallest undivided part of the existence. In the same way, Krishna has invested his potency even in the smallest of this chant. So, in the verse further, we will see that Prabhupada is Vishnu Dutas are mentioning one more thing, that by chanting the name Narayana, he has become free not just of one life, not just of all the sins in one life, but he has atoned sufficiently for all the sinful reactions of millions of life. Actually, we should read this again and again. Just see, can there be something? Can you commit a sin and take a punishment, and you tell that this punishment is, by undergoing this punishment, I have atoned for not only the debts of this life, but debts of previous life also? Of course, people don't even have the knowledge of the past life. But it looks so wonderful, and it looks such a wonderful deal, that just by chanting the holy names of Hari, I'll be freed from all the sinful life, from all the lives, millions of life past. So it is said that if you commit a grievous sin, a heavy sin, you have to take on heavy punishment. And if you commit a light sin, a simpler sin, a smaller punishment is enough. Right? So, in one of the verses later it will come, Gurunam cha laghunam cha. Gurunam means very heavy punishment, or very heavy sin. Cha laghunam cha, or a very, you've committed a small offense. So, for a heavy offense or a small offense, what we have to do? Guruni cha laghuni cha prayaschitani. Guruni cha laghuni cha means you have to do a heavy prayashchita or a small prayashchita. But this holy name is the simplest of all prayashchita. It is laghuni, but the result is it can counteract gurunamapi. It can counteract the heaviest of all the sins. That is why it is said that Kali Yuga, we are so fortunate that we have received such a simple method for counteracting all the offenses of not only this life but all the lives put together. And that is why by chanting the holy names of Krishna, we can go back to Godhead in this life. We cannot go back to Godhead in this life unless and until all our accounts are settled. All our karma is nullified from millions and millions of life. But this is the power of chanting the holy name. And here it is said, in the translation further it is said, that actually Ajamila was calling out the name Narayana. Of course, he called out towards the end, and that became the cause. But otherwise also, all throughout his life, he was calling out his son's name. So similarly, we also, Ajamila was calling out the name every day. Every day he was calling out, Narayana, come here, Narayana, come sit with me, Narayana, eat with me, drink with me. He was calling out every day. Similarly, we also have to call out the 16 names of the Hare Krishna mantra every day. Like he received something, we have also received something from the spiritual master, and we have to call it out every day. Now here, in the 7th verse and the 8th verse, both these verses, one important point is mentioned in each of these verses, which is the reason why Ajamila's chanting was offenseless. Sometimes people ask us, how is Ajamila's chanting offenseless? Although he did not chant purely, but it was offenseless. And the two reasons are, in the 7th verse, last week's verse, we read that he chanted helplessly. That is an important thing to note. When you chant, when you call out the name of the Lord helplessly, cryingly, that's why Prabhupada says chanting should be the genuine cry of the child for the mother. Because a child is crying helplessly. So Ajamila chanted helplessly, "Oh Lord, please come." He did not chant "Oh Lord," but "Narayana, please come." So that helpless. We raise our hand like this for what? In the Kirtan we raise our hand like this because that's like a surrender to the Lord. I am helpless, please help me. Please take me into your shelter. Draupadi also was saved because she lifted her hands helplessly. And because she lifted her hand helplessly, initially she tried a lot to protect herself. But then she knew that that's not possible. And then she completely surrendered. So Ajamila was actually put into a helpless situation. Actually, the helpless situation that Ajamila was put into, we will all be put into one day. What was the helpless situation that Ajamila was put, because of which he chanted the name helplessly? His last moments. He was about to die. I don't know how many of you have seen, I remember the scene. I was there during those years when the MVT would be running with that Ajamila, Vishnuduta and the Yamadutas robotics. And there, we had that Ajamila, and when he calls out Narayana, he is, like raising his hands. And you can make out that, the helpless call of Ajamila. So, when Ajamila was forced into that helpless situation, he did something which he had practiced all throughout his life. So when we are also in a helpless situation, there are 2 points to be noted here. One is, if ever we come in a state where we are experiencing some difficulties, some problems, it is actually good, it is actually welcome, because that makes us feel, oh, I have no shelter. It gives you the feeling of helplessness. When will you feel helpless? When you see that you are in the midst of a big problem and you don't know the solution, you don't have the solution. Actually, when we are in the midst of a big problem and we think that, yes, I have a solution, I can do it, I can make it happen, then the helpless call will not come. But we should know, in this material world, dukkhaushadam tadapi dukkham. Any solution that we are making for any dukkha, tadapi dukkham, that is also a dukkha. So this is a very important thing that we have to learn, or we have to understand. That's why early morning we sing samsara davanala, davanala. Now can I make a solution for davanala, for a forest fire? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says Mahadavagni, it's a great forest fire. So we must understand that in the material world, actually nothing, no one can solve our problem. We cannot come to any solution unless and until we take the shelter of Krishna. Just like poverty, an example is given. If somebody is extremely poverty stricken, there's only one solution that can help him come out of the poverty-stricken condition. Money. Isn't it? In this poverty-stricken condition, he has no food, he has no money for food, no money for medical, no money for education, no money for anything. And he's making big plans. He's not planning about money, but he's making some other plan. It will be unsuccessful. So similarly, in our condition, this comparison is that when we are in difficulty, only Krishna can help us. But if we are depending on something else that can help us, then, and I am depending on that, then Krishna will say he is not making a helpless cry. So sometimes when we are pushed into difficult situations, the difficult situation could be for any reason, devotee should not get perturbed. I am a devotee, I am practicing Krishna consciousness, I am chanting 16 rounds. Why Krishna is giving me this difficulty? You should be helpful, you should be thankful to Krishna that he has put you in that difficult situation so that at least some helpless call can come out. That is why Pandavas, although externally they were facing so many difficulties, so many, challenges, so many vipad, calamities, they were actually in a very happy situation because always they were remembering Krishna. And they were the pure devotees. Imagine if pure devotees have to face such a situation. So there is some lesson to be learnt in that. So never ever a devotee should get perturbed. Why this problem? Why that problem? Why this scolding? Any problem that you're facing with, you should take it. This is an opportunity for me to make a helpless call. Only Krishna can help me. Just like you see when a child, Prabhupada gives another example, when a child is crying for the mother, and in that place where, in the room where the child is crying, the mother is sitting, some aunt is sitting, some friend is sitting, different people are sitting. When the child cries, suppose the mother doesn't come, some aunt comes and picks up the child. Will the child stop crying? Although help is there. And she is also a lady and equally warm and equally loving. But the child won't stop crying. The child will stop crying only when her mother comes. Although the other lady is also her mother's age, also as a child, also is loving, also is caring. But no, the child will be relieved of, or the child will be appeased only when he sees his mother coming and lifting her. In the same way, we can only be saved, we can only be helped by Krishna. No one else can solve our problems. So that genuine cry to Krishna, and Krishna and his names are non-different. So if I am in any problem, there is only one solution. The solution is chanting the holy names of the Lord helplessly, and that's exactly what Ajamila did. So this strong conviction, this strong faith in the holy name, Krishna Bhakti, Sarva Karma Krita Hoya. Vishwas, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasha Kahe, Sudridha Nishchaya. Shraddha, this Shraddha we must have in the holy name of Krishna. Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe. What? That Shraddha which gives us that Vishwasa, that faith, that Sudridha Nishchaya. I am completely Sudridha. I am completely convinced. Nishchaya. I am determined. I am completely convinced that except Krishna Bhakti, which is by chanting the holy names of Krishna in Kali Yuga, there is no other solution. So you combine this, that Krishna is the only shelter, combine this with Narayana, and that name is Narayana, and how Ajamila somehow got the name Narayana through his son, by his son being called Narayana. You combine this, what a wonderful combination it became. He didn't know anything about Narayana, but that helplessness came out because he was in that situation, and because of this he got this opportunity, the second life, the second chance. So the point that I was mentioning is, we should also try, when we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we should feel that yes, only the Lord can help me. During the chanting time, we should not be engaged in plan making, in discussing something, or doing this or doing that, or meditating on our service. None of these things, because that time Krishna is seeing whether this my devotee is engaged, is wanting me or not. Because you're trying to do something in your mind means you're trying to look for a solution, but the solution is in the holy name. That's what is said, the concurrent chanting come hearing. During the chanting time, only chanting little loudly and hearing the holy name. So that was the first reason he chanted helplessly, and the second reason is why his chanting is called offenseless, although not pure, but it was offenseless, because the seventh offense, here it is written, Namno Baladyasihi Papa Buddhihi, he seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. So Ajamila was not chanting Narayana all through his life, and even towards the end of his life when he was on his deathbed, he did not chant the name Narayana thinking that he will counteract all the sins that he has performed all throughout his life with that Shudrani woman. In fact, it is said that Ajamila didn't even know he was in so much of deep ignorance that he did not even know that his activities with the prostitute and all the plundering, stealing, sending away his parents, sending away his chaste wife were sins. He didn't even know that. So where is the question of chanting Narayana for counteracting those sins? Because he didn't even know that he was committing sin. He was so much in ignorance, but so much blinded by infatuation of and the lust. So because of these two reasons, helplessly calling out the Lord's name and chanting, not because of counteracting the offenses that he has committed, but just chanting. He did not, the seventh offense was not there. That is why Ajamila's chanting is considered offenseless, though not pure. So these are the reasons that is given here. So Ajamila, he was old, but he got to chant the name of Narayana. He was on his deathbed, and he was fortunate that he was put into such a situation. So Prabhupada tells us that as devotees of Krishna, we have this knowledge that we do not know when our end will come. Any moment, any time, that end may come. Ajamila could helplessly call out that name because he had practiced it well, and he had developed some love and attachment for his son. So in that sense, he had developed some attachment for the holy name, not of the Lord, but of his son. So because that attachment was there for his son, when he was put into a helpless situation, he was able to chant. In the same way, we have been given these 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra to chant every day, so that we can develop our love and attachment for this holy name. If we chant nicely, we will develop love and attachment for the holy name. And when we develop love and attachment for the holy name, when we are also put in a helpless situation, may not be death, any situation that we are put. So many times we are sometimes put in a helpless situation, and automatically we chant the name of Lord Krishna or Hare Krishna, right? Krishna, Krishna. Something goes wrong, people say, oh my God, but we say Krishna, right? Because we have been used to it. Because so this is the practice that we have to. Prabhupada has given us the 16 names, the 16 rounds to practice, so that we develop our love and attachment, and so that when we are put into helpless situations, especially at the time of death, this name will automatically come out. So this is the whole practice. Like Ajamila, whole lifetime he was practicing chanting his son's name. So similarly, we have to practice it seriously. Chanting is very simple, but one must practice it seriously. If we practice seriously the chanting of the holy name, then it will be possible to remember Krishna at the time of death. The last point, Prabhupada ends the purport by saying, it did not matter that he was calling his son, the name itself was effective. Just like the example of the medicine is given. It does not matter what that medicine is, but the medicine is effective. So we have to take the medicine. When we are taking the medicine, when a doctor prescribes a medicine and we are fallen sick, we are so careful of taking that medicine nicely. Isn't it? We will never miss a dose. And we will take it perfectly. It will go through this mouth, through this hole. In the same way, just like we take the medicines nicely when the doctor prescribes, now we have the spiritual master. He is the doctor, the spiritual doctor who has given us this medicine. With the kind of seriousness we take the medicine to cure our body, to cure the disease that we are in, with the same seriousness we should take this medicine. This medicine is unlimitedly powerful. It can solve all the problems. So if we take this medicine seriously, we will be able to overcome this bhava roga. One is deha roga. Deha roga is this material medicine, but we are undergoing a bhava roga, which is a very, very big roga. So if we have the bigger the disease, more serious we should be in taking the medicine. So we chant. So we are seeing here, this is such a, he received the benefit of chanting the name Narayana unconsciously. So if we chant the names of Hare Krishna mantra consciously, we can be immensely benefited. So these are some of the things coming out in this purport. Any questions? Yes. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
All the words gets the same benefit, or is it like how do we consider that point where?
Yeah, it does get, but you don't know how many such Hari is coming in two different words. This is an example, Haram Riktim, that it is given here, that Halam Riktim Hari is coming. So anything that we are saying, and if those two syllables are coming, you are getting the benefit, because that's what is mentioned. But then we don't know how many. But then that example is to show how powerful the name Hari or the syllables of Lord is. But how many of them are coming, and how we are, because we are continuously committing again more and more sins. Ajamila was not even, it is mentioned, he was just blindlessly acting, and he was not conscious of what he is doing, and he was unconsciously chanting. So in Ajamila's case, it was a Narayana, constant chant of Narayana that acted all throughout his life. So these other syllables coming in different words, in half syllables, if it is coming, you are fortunate and you are benefiting. Just like Ajamila was fortunate by chanting Narayana, we are also fortunate if those words come. Yes. Okay.
My doubt is, Prabhu, is chanting alone sufficient, or is reading of scriptures and understanding is also required? Like, I've read the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhu, but Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita I haven't read yet. How important is that, or is just chanting sufficient?
Yeah, chanting is sufficient, but then because we are beginners, we will not be able to chant properly unless and until we are convinced about the power of chanting and the value of chanting. So to understand why we must chant, how we must chant, what is the benefit of chanting, we have to be convinced about it. And that is why reading is important. So both Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting must go on parallelly. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, with respect to the transcendental names of the personalities, is there any qualitative difference between the spiritual master's name as well as the Lord's name? Is there any quantitative difference as well while chanting? Like spiritual master's name also we chant, and Lord's also. So is there any qualitatively and quantitatively?
You mean like Srila Prabhupada?
Prabhupada.
It is not Krishna's name. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhupada is also Krishna's name, in a sense. Prabhu, he who is, the Prabhu is there, and he who is at the lotus feet of the Prabhu, the Master Krishna. So in that sense. So no, there is no difference. You chant Prabhupada's name also, whether you chant Prabhupada's name or you're chanting Krishna's name, there is no difference. They are one and the same, because the spiritual master is representing the pure devotee. He is himself completely pure. In fact, it is said, you complete your worship of Krishna just by worshipping Srila Prabhupada. Just worship one plate. If you have to offer to Krishna, and if you have less offering, just offer one plate to Krishna, up to Prabhupada. You offer that one plate to Prabhupada, it goes to Krishna. So spiritual master is the one who is going to deliver us. So you can chant, but we follow what Prabhupada tells us. Although there is no difference between the spiritual master's name and Krishna's name, qualitatively in terms of its spiritual potency, but there is a difference also, because that is Krishna's name, this is Guru's name. So it's like the one and the same, right? But we follow what Prabhupada says. So Prabhupada says to chant 16 rounds, so we chant 16 rounds. Okay, we'll end here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanand. छोड़ दी, मैं लेकर जाता हूँ, मैं ले लेता हूँ.